Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Astral Tourist, broadcasting live from planet Earth. So, today I'll be covering some tips for working with confused spirits. And I will share some of my most recent astral projections, of course. So, I want to get started right away with working with confused spirits. The big thing is do not panic. Do not panic. Do not panic. Not all spirits, and nature spirits in this case, know very well how to work or communicate with humans. I can't elaborate on that enough. They're going to get things wrong, just like we get things wrong, right? We all make mistakes. We all do our best, and we still get it wrong some of the time. Even when we've done all our homework and research and everything else we could do, we still all make mistakes. Um, so last night I had this horrible, horrible feeling of foreboding before I went to bed. And it lasted for a good couple of hours, and I was tingly. And remember, I'm very empathic. And so I was like, I wonder if there's something in the room. And like about 20 minutes later, this well-stacked pile of stuff just fell down. It's like, oh, there's something in here. But I was like looking clairvoyantly and went into meditation and I couldn't see it. I could sure feel it, folks. I could feel it. It was a tangible feeling. It was not super cold. I was just mainly super tingly. Like my senses were on fire tingly, even though I wasn't super hot. So I knew something was going on. Now, because I'm older and I have been empathic my whole life and I know my own mind pretty well, I knew not to panic. And also, I know that sometimes I can get a much stronger feeling of like foreboding than what's really there. Like it's my super senses kicking in, and I know for me, they kick in too much. Now, for others, you're going to have to practice on your own and learn your own mind and how your senses are. But mine are always kind of like super amped. I have not been using mugwort lately, by the way, so nothing has to do with mugwort this time. Been clear of the mugwort for at least 3 or 4 days now. So this is all just me and the spirit, right? And so I was feeling really out of sorts as I was falling asleep, but at the same time, I know my senses can overreact like that. So I began doing like some Kuan Yin and some White Tara mantras and singing like some songs to myself and calmed myself down pretty well. And I just like made this intention to find out what's going on. Like, what is this? So I know a lot of people I've been reading in the subreddits and things, they tend to get scared and frightened. And I cannot say it enough, do not panic and know your own mind. And that just takes practice, years and years of practice. So don't feel badly if you get something wrong sometimes or misinterpret. It's okay. We're all in this kind of learning process here on planet Earth, right? So it's okay. And I just wanted to find out what it was. And now when I get those kinds of feelings, I just get more curious. I'm more curious and more interested in finding out what's happening. And I kind of was a little bit too excited and couldn't fall asleep for a little while until I really did more of those Kuan Yins. Oh, and I added some green taras in there and some kind of a golden mantra. I think it was, what was it? Not Ganesh. I might have done one Ganesh mantra, but I did some other one. Oh, I know it. I know it. Zambala. I did Zambala for some reason. And I ended up getting this flash of an image in my head of a golden Tara, all decorated with beautiful jewels and everything, just sitting there, like with a little bit of a wrathful look on her face, like, what are you waiting for? Just get out, So that was my mental feedback was, what are you doing? Just go. So much of this is mental. Oh my gosh. So anyway, I made the intention to just go and to get out and to relax enough to just get out right away into the astral and leave my body. And look around the place. Nope, I fell fast asleep instead. So I guess the relaxing mantras kicked in there or whatever, but I fell asleep. Anyway, when I woke up again, I did the usual stuff. It wasn't that late. It was only like around 12:30 at night. I've been falling asleep earlier lately. Um, so I went back to sleep, and as I was falling back asleep, I felt this pain in my back. It felt like it was so bad. Like, what's going on? And I looked back there, and it turned out I looked back there with my astral eyes. So I was thinking, yay, let's find out what's going on. And there was this little tiny, tiny, tiny little spirit, like micro-sized, like the length of my finger, one of my fingers. But I could see it had like a little green hat on top of its head or something, like a little miniature elf, like a micro elf or an imp or something. I don't know which. But it was there, and it had this huge, huge rock in its hand, and it was digging it into my back. So again, do not panic. Do not panic. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what? And there must be some misunderstanding here. I was like, how did you get in? That's always one of my first questions when I have a spirit in the house. And he said, through the fairy door. And I do have an emergency fairy door outside that I have set up at like an emergency fairy thing in my miniature garden outside, even in the winter. I have this little fairy house out there, and fairies can go in it. And I did make an intention at some point that if one really needed to come in for help, there would be a little space through the back of that to come through the wall, like less than pinhole sized, everyone. But fairies can do that. I mean, that's nothing for a real fairy to do. So, okay, I thought he's allowed in. So what's going on with the rock, and why is it in my back? And I guess he was just trying to wake me up. And I said, well, what's going on with the rock? And he was talking about a man telepathically, but his thoughts were so fast, I couldn't really make them all out. But anyway, there's something about a very large man disturbing one of his favorite rocks. And he got upset and somehow knew to go through the fairy door. He was just kind of mixed up and confused. I couldn't really make out why and how that incident connected with me, other than maybe he was just looking for a safe place and then kept wanting to share about the rock. Some fairies and nature spirits are very wild. Their minds are all over. So, it's just like, well, let's just calm down and talk about this, and I'll get us some little cakes, like mental offerings here. Little cakes and some tea. And then I was thinking about chocolate, and he picked up on that. He's like, hot chocolate? It's like, yeah, sure, we can have hot chocolate instead of tea. And I imagined all these little miniature hot chocolate cups because he kept wanting more. He was like, can we have more hot chocolate? Can we have more hot chocolate? And I wanted to make sure the cups were the size that would fit him since he looked so tiny, So I was like, just going on with him back and forth about chocolate and little cakes and cookies and things. And it's okay. And I didn't know about the rock. And, I just kind of sympathized with him because I had no idea what that was about. You don't lie to spirits either. No. I mean, if you have to and you really think it's the only way, maybe, but not a good idea. Just be nice and kind and, calm them down a little bit, give them like some hot chocolate and cakes and just a nice, safe place to be. And so eventually I told him, this is just an emergency. I don't usually have spirits in the house. And he understood. And he's like, I got places to be anyway. But he wanted to know if I could send hot chocolate with him. So I sent out these little cups, mental offerings and energies of like hot chocolate all across the lake. And like covered the lake and like these little cups with the hot chocolates and some little cakes and things spread out. And, he went on his way and seemed happy enough about it. I don't know what happened with his rock there, but this happens in the winter here where the spirits get more upset. I've talked about this before. So the main thing is just to be calm and do not panic if that's happening. And remember, I made the invitation kind of because I did have an opening there for emergencies. Not only mentally, but I made one outside as well. So I wasn't exactly asking for it, but it was there if some spirit needed it. And so he used it, and that's fine. Um, so what else can I share? We've just had the snow moon, so I'm not sure if the lunar energies are maybe stirring things up a bit too. Possibly though, possibly. I've been thinking about that lately, and I'm not sure. So moving on, I also went back to Mount Kailash. It's wonderful there. I love it in the Himalayas. At one point, I moved on from there into a gigantic astral mall that had many stories. And unfortunately, the only thing I can remember from that is that I was in an elevator and there were some people outside the elevator trying to come in, and the doors were closing, and I didn't know which buttons to press to keep the doors open. And I think I was losing lucidity a little bit at that point. I remember one of the people telepathed to me that it was the bottom left button that was in Morse code. And when I looked down at that, it was not in Morse code at all, but I think it was the Dakini script I keep hearing about when I listen to more about Tibetan Buddhism and learn more of the meditations and all of that. I think I was looking at Dakini script, and that was somehow translated telepathically as Morse code. I never got to press the button because I woke up, so I don't know what happened with that. I'm going to think of it as a good sign that I got to see some, and even if it really wasn't and I'm confused or something about that, um, I was in a happy place when I was in Mount Kailash there anyway, and then the big mall. And I remember feeling really good when I was in that whole building. Oh, and there was the number 4. There were all these different floors, and I remembered I had come down from floor 4. Whatever that may or may not mean, maybe fourth dimension, I don't know. But I was coming down from floor 4, and I was ground floor, and I woke up in a whole different one. I was on a cruise. My mind often equates cruises when I'm partially lucid to astral traveling. It did feel very astral, but I know my mind was also like overlaying a bit for a combined visual picture there. And I was looking for a buffet. Somebody had told me about a buffet, and I couldn't find the one they told me about, but I found a different one. I had to sign an identity paper claiming that I would repay like $5 or $10 worth of astral credits because it was a better buffet than the other one or something. So I signed that. I didn't care that much about that. And then when I got there, I couldn't find any plates. This one man offered to help me find some plates, but as we were walking along, he was showing me different parts of the ship. Like there was this little cute little area with rainbow colors and things. And I knew that was going to be a portal, so I said no thanks to that. And then he started kind of making passes at me, and I decided to look at myself just to see like what I was looking like, because I look all different ways in the astral. This time I was actually in a more human form. I had long blonde hair that was curly, like all permed out, like I think 1970s style. And I had a pair of white overalls on though. So I looked very clean, yet I had these overalls and just, shirt and jeans. I was dressed 70s style, but nothing, super sexy was hanging out or anything like that. So I just decided to wake myself up at that point. And now I think we're all caught up. I've been sleeping really well, so I'm not remembering as many astral projections lately, but still I have plenty. So I will keep sharing, so stay tuned. Thanks so much. Please like and subscribe, and I hope some of the tips helped. Thank you.